Thank you for joining us for our final Seeds of Knowledge session. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional lands and owners on which we're joining here today. I'm currently joining from Wadawurrung country, and the seed in Victoria seed bank is located on Dja Dja Wurrung country. And Jackie, I believe you're joining from the Durag people in New South Wales.
Yes.
And please feel free to pop in the chat wherever you're joining from tonight, but just acknowledging the traditional owners and that paying respects to elders past, present and emerging. I'm Jackson Cass. I'm currently the president of Seed in Victoria. The Seeds of Knowledge program is being aimed to bring knowledge, science and projects about our native seed to the public and keep it available for free. And this would not have been possible without our wonderful partners and funders for the program, the Bullock and Northern Grampians Landcare Network. And we'd really like to thank Bullock and Northern Grampians Landcare Network, and in particular, Andrew Borg, for really supporting the initiative and who very much shares our passion for native seed. So the last 5 sessions of the Seeds of Knowledge program are available to watch on YouTube through the Moorabool Landcare Network. Please like and subscribe. I'd like to introduce tonight's guest speaker, Jackie Carpenter, from One Giant Leap Australia. I thought, what a better way to wrap up the Seeds of Knowledge series than to start exploring space, the next frontier. Anyway, we're looking forward to hearing about Jackie's projects, which involves seed from Victorian species and travelling them into space. Thank you, everyone, and I'll hand it over to you, Jackie.
Yeah, hi, everyone. Jackie Carpenter. I started One Giant Leap Australia in 2015, and my background is primary school teacher, so I've been on a massive learning curve about many different things, and one of them is how to send seeds to the space station without having any knowledge whatsoever of what to do. So pretty much the journey started because we represent Australia with the Australian Space Agency, with the Japanese Space Agency. And one day they just said, Australia, do you want to send seeds to space? And so you've been in plenty of teleconferences where you just have to take the opportunity. So I said yes without even knowing what I was saying yes to. My husband's kicking me under the table, but there was no one from the Space Agency on the teleconference, so there was no one there to say no. So I said yes, and then they said, what seeds? And I went, well, I'll get back to you about that. Anyone who knows me, my cooking skills are pretty bad. I have a Facebook page, 50 Shades of Charcoal, and my gardening skills aren't much better. So I thought long and hard about, if we're going to do this, it would have to be our Australian national flower, our national emblem, the wattle seed. So 2 o'clock in the morning, I thought, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to call it What'll Happen to the Wattle. So hopefully you can see this. This is a wall from the classroom of the kids who did the What'll Happen to the Wattle program. This is like a teacher who did the Seeds in Space program, and it's all about what the kids had learnt from about wattle. So what happened was we just put the word out that this was going to happen. Teachers took this every different direction known to man. We left it really open-ended. So really what happened was we investigated the wattle seeds as far as germination, the resilience, how the exposure to microgravity and space conditions might affect the growth and the adaptability to the seeds. So I approached the CSIRO. They gave me seeds from Victoria, and then what happened from that was we thought, how are we going to decide who's going to grow the seeds? How are we even going to collect the seed data? So this whole thing just erupted from an opportunity from sending seeds to space to now problem solving how this was going to happen. So I got the seeds, and we have seeds that didn't go to space and seeds that did, all from the one seed lot. So we had a massive seed lot. We were allowed, then I had to work out how I was going to get them out of the country to Japan. And then from Japan, they went to America. And from America, they went into NASA, from NASA to SpaceX to the space station, and then backtracking all the way back again into Australia. We don't have an understanding of sending something out from our country and getting the same thing back. So, for example, we could send wheat and back comes biscuits, or iron ore and back comes steel. I was sending the same thing out that I was getting back, and we don't have a piece of paper for that. So it was Australian seeds going out, but Australian seeds coming back. So they didn't know how to really deal with it, but I had to do the whole phytosanitary thing. So in the end, they asked me to become a seed exporter. And then I had to do all this training, and then they said, no, you don't need to do that, and they refunded my money. Then they decided something else, and then in the end, we came up with a game plan. I know the laughter, it was stressful. Like, I'm there going, I can't believe I haven't even got them out of Sydney yet. I quickly became this expert on what to do, but the phytosanitary was interesting, all the paperwork, because Japan needed it. So they didn't care that the seeds were going to space. All they cared was that they were leaving the country and coming back again. And so then once I got that nutted out, then it was like, okay, how do we decide who's going to grow the seeds? How are we going to do this? And then what happens if we get inundated and we run out of seeds? Or, how do we choose? So we came up with a plan of 6 space seeds and 6 seeds that didn't go to space, and we'd send off a little greenhouse. So we created this whole program. And then how do we choose? So we asked the kids, or we asked the schools to send in a 2-minute video. Why should we choose you? Why should the people who've got the seeds, when they come back, why should your school or your preschool, because it was open to everyone, preschool or school, why should you be the one who gets the space wattle seeds? So what I've done is, hopefully this will work, I've just put 2 videos so that you can see how difficult this selection process was. This I've chosen because it's really creative, and the next one I've chosen because it's really sad. So hopefully you'll enjoy. So that's a classic example of STEM education with the arts, the STEAM education. So I thought that was such a cute thing, and the amount of effort they put in with all the stop motion and everything, and how old they were. It was very, very cool. So I saw that and went, oh, we've got to pick them. And it was like, how am I going to say no to all of these kids? So then we have the next one, and this is very different.
Cromer Public School is on the far south coast of New South Wales. We are known as a small school with a big heart.
On the morning of the 31st of December, a bushfire ripped through our village, destroying about 1 in 5 of the houses and countless sheds and outbuildings. It was very scary and sad to see so much destruction.
The biggest change now in the way our village looks is the loss of trees. Many of the trees in our school grounds died. Crews spent weeks cutting them down and mulching them or removing them. We would love to grow some beautiful golden wattles in the school grounds.
2 of our students, Akiva and Golda, live next door to the school. This is their house.
We love growing plants at Corma. Our parents raised lots of money to build a fantastic orchard. It was opened at the end of last school year. 2 weeks later it burnt. Then this year a truck tipped onto it. Our school needs some better luck.
At our school, we study Japanese. We like that the seeds are going to the Japanese part of the space station that is called Kobe, which means hope.
So as you can see, like, I cried and laughed my way through hundreds of videos. They're all on our YouTube channel. You can have a look at them. They're very, very varied. Everything from zombie teachers to who've accidentally eaten space wattle seeds to videos like that, which are really, I honestly cried when I first saw that video. It was just terrible. Can you imagine the orchard burnt down just after being opened and then a truck fell on top of it? It's like, what else could happen to these poor kids? So it was such a joy to actually turn around and go, yes, we've chosen your little school to grow the space wattle seeds. So then it was like, how are we going to collect the data once we know what preschools and schools? So on the right hand side, that map, I started mapping everything on Google Maps. All the red dots are all the different schools and they're layered on top of each other. Plus there's more I didn't get to map on there. And on the left are the blue tags of the schools that actually loaded up their information into a special app that we made with some app developers from Telstra who volunteered to help us put that together. So, you know, it was very important to us for the kids to be able to put pictures up, but also for child protection purposes. We have all the resources sitting behind usernames and passwords because it's got pictures of kids, but we have all the data collected as much as we can. And so that's just a small representation, really. We sent out over 300 kits in the duration of the program. So once the kits were all out there, everyone knew that their school was involved, and then we just had to wait then. We had to wait for the rocket launch. And here we go.
6 months ago, a rocket was launched into space carrying our wattle seeds. The launch was a complete success. It hurtled through space to deliver our seeds to the International Space Station, where they've been sitting, cared for by the astronauts, living on the space station for these 6 months. Last week, a new mission was launched. This is Dragon. Dragon was launched to collect our seeds from the International Space Station and bring them back down to Earth. It got in sight of the space station as it slowly approached. Dragon had to maneuver carefully to dock with the space station. You can see them aiming to make sure it connects perfectly. And it did. Over the course of the next day or two, the astronauts loaded our seeds back into Dragon, and all of the incredible hard-working scientists at NASA tracked the detaching and the slow re-entry back towards Earth, carrying our seeds. You can see Dragon hurtling across the sky. This is looking from the space station back towards Earth as Dragon brings our seeds back to us. On Thursday, the 8th of July, Dragon could be seen glowing in the upper atmosphere as it hurtled back to our planet, landing for a dramatic splashdown in the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of Florida. After a long and wild journey, our seeds have come back home.
And that was kind of pretty terrifying because I thought, what if it burns up? I can't replace them. So this is the most important photo. I remember I was emailing Jackson and going, we really need a picture. I wanted to get the seeds floating in the cupola of the space station. And they said that's impossible because that's not the Japanese module. And then they said all the seeds are in this big plastic bag. And I'm saying, but the kids need to see that their seeds actually went. So it's okay to say that they went, but we need to prove to them because we're talking about preschool and primary school age kids. So we needed that proof. So I happen to know a flight director who happened to know the astronaut who happened to shuffle all the packets around, and he floated it on the space station. And as a surprise in the middle of the night, that's the photo that I got sent. I burst into tears because I thought I would never get this picture. And they made it happen for the Australian kids. So the cool thing about it is there is our logo with the Space Agency logo, and there are our wattle seeds with seeds from other countries in that clip-lock bag floating in space in the Kibo module of the space station. So the seeds came back. The Australian Embassy in Tokyo was all excited. So this was at the Australian Embassy in Tokyo where the seeds were handed back over to Australia from Japan. We had created a guidebook, which you can see. Actually, it's online, so anyone can see what our guidebook looks like about the program. But my fear then was, at that time, COVID had hit and everyone was losing parcels and packages and everything. So here we had this packet of seeds that had gone to space. I couldn't replace them if they got lost in the mail. So at that time, there was a lot of hype around packages getting lost, packages falling off trucks and being found squashed on the side of the road. I was so scared, and I'm going, who can I talk to? So I kept talking to people, and eventually I got someone from the Department of Agriculture in Canberra, and they understood my fear because I couldn't replace these seeds. We had 300 schools and preschools all waiting for these seeds. Imagine if they got lost in Australia Post. So then they said, we know what we'll do. We'll send it back by diplomatic bag. So I have no idea about what a diplomatic bag looks like. So I'm envisioning, if you think Maxwell Smart, maybe a leather suitcase with a big padlock, like I'm thinking this. And they sent it back via diplomatic bag to Canberra. And when I saw what it was actually a polystyrene esky with green and gold tape around it. And they sent it back. And when it was opened, the seeds were all in packages, all nestled on the top of the esky inside, on top of polystyrene peanuts, like those, the starch ones. So here they all were nicely packed in there because they're really, really important to our country because I couldn't get any more. So they got back to Canberra, and then half of DHL got COVID. So no one was allowed to go to DHL to pick up the package. And so eventually it took me longer to get them out of Canberra than them to come off the space station. A lot of people wanted to have their photos taken with it before they got out of Canberra, so the ministers and things like that. So eventually I think it cost me $16.51 in postage to send the seeds to space and get them back again. So people ask me, how much did it cost? Well, it cost $16.51 to go from Canberra to Sydney, and then DHL delivered them to my house. And even at that point, I still hadn't realised that I'd done it. It was only when I got the seeds and picked them up and went, we've actually done this, because at that, everything was like imaginary, if that makes sense, like phytosanitary certificates and all that. Everything was out of sight. And it was only when I physically got them back that I went, wow, we actually did this. It was pretty cool. So I mentioned about COVID. So the impact of COVID, this happened right smack bang in the middle of COVID. We have been meeting online during lockdown. These were the feedbacks from the teachers. So they'd been trying to meet with the kids on lockdown. The teacher left the school with the kit because in that time teachers were moving around because it was months and months, right? Teacher doing it has moved to a new school and we don't know what to do. Teacher has been promoted and no one wants to take on the project. We're under lockdown. We're waiting for the students to come back because we don't want to open your kit without the kids being there. The teacher's aide threw it out thinking it was finished and our kit floated away in the flood. So one school rang me and told me that their whole little greenhouse had floated away and they were too scared to tell the kids. So I actually sent them another kit and they did it again before the kids knew that the kit had floated away because I was so scared. The kids were so invested. The communities were invested, whole communities. Like we had a school with 7 kids in it growing them. The whole community knew about the project. So here we just would send off a little greenhouse with everything, potting mix, everything inside, except Western Australia. Western Australia, we couldn't send potting mix. We would just send a voucher to buy potting mix from Bunnings, and they also had to get the seeds re-inspected. So even in our own country, we still had to get the seeds re-inspected going over the border to WA. So the kids all got excited. Here they all are following all the instructions. These are some of the pictures that the teachers sent us of the kids and their kits and all the different things. So we had a setup so they knew where their 6 space seeds were and their 6 earth seeds were, so they knew what was growing where, all the data collected by the kids. There's some more. And then also in Tokyo, so what happened before they sent the seeds back via diplomatic bag, we said you should keep some seeds and grow some seeds in the Australian Embassy in Tokyo. So the gardener at the Australian Embassy in Tokyo grew the seeds, and this is an amazing result that the gardener got. And then those space wattle trees are going to be planted in the imperial garden of the royal family of Japan. So that was a different side story yet again. And then what happened during we were over in Dubai doing a program that we created called the Connecting Minds Project. So we were over there for the Connecting Minds Project in the Dubai Expo, and the Governor General of Australia was there. So what happened, we ended up at the Mohammed bin Rashid Space Centre and we presented them with space seeds, which the government put in resin, and I predicted that they would do that. So what I did was I actually got another phytosanitary certificate, took some wattle seeds over to Dubai just in case. So what they did was they set them in resin, and then the Mohammed bin Rashid Space Centre went, but we would have liked to have grown some. I said, well, I do have some. And then they tried to grow them and they weren't successful. So I've delivered another lot of seeds to them in the meantime. So they want to grow them and put them in the grounds of the Mohammed bin Rashid Space Centre to show our relationship globally between Australia and the UAE. So Wattle Day became an important thing for these schools. Wattle Day has not really celebrated in schools, and then suddenly, because we had done the Wattle happened to the Wattle, the kids were all realising we have a thing called Wattle Day. So then they started celebrating Wattle Day, and this was from a kindergarten, doing things around wattle and wearing yellow shirts to school, all of those things at a kindergarten level. And then a school in Victoria who was on lockdown, they decided to do a program called Wattle Rocks. And it was funny because I ended up being interviewed on ABC News for this. What happened was the teachers, one of the teachers' aides painted all these different rocks and they hid them in the community. So all the kids, because they couldn't go to school, were told that they could go out into the community, find one rock painted with wattle, and if they found another one they could re-hide it. So you had this whole community running around trying to find all the wattle rocks, and they called it Wattle Rocks. So that was an awesome way to keep engaged with the kids, even though the kids weren't at school and it was during COVID, and a really fun way yet again of how to engage with the program that's not necessarily straight down the line a science subject. a couple of years after that, I got a phone call from a lady, Jodie Regan, and she said to me, I've read about the space wattle seeds. I said, yeah. And she goes, well, we're really inspired, so I'd like to write a poem about it. And I thought it would be a poem that was like seed, soil, water, sun, ta-da, plant. I thought it would be like that. I did not know who Jodie O'Regan was. So I sent Jodie some space seeds and a mission patch and a certificate because she said that she's so inspired. So what happened, about a year later, she contacted me and she said, well, what we've done is we've made a 15-minute choral piece that's been performed in Germany in the Berlin Philharmonic Hall. And Joe Twist, who is the composer of Bluey, the music for Bluey, he was involved. So they created this whole 15-minute music piece about the wattle. And it starts off, wattle was here before birdsong. And it goes through the whole story of wattle with bushfire and everything. And then the last 5 minutes is about us sending the seeds to space. So it's about seed pods of metal and fire. Like, it's amazing. I normally listen to U2 and David Bowie and things like that, showing my age. I was crying in the last 5 minutes of this choral piece. It's incredible. We have a podcast called One Giant Leap Radio. It's on there. There is an interview with Chris and Joe and Jodie on our podcast about how they created that. The really cool thing about it is now we got contacted about 2 months ago. What they've done is they've recomposed the music so primary school kids can sing this piece of music, and 8,000 primary school kids are going to sing about the wattle next year at a music festival in South Australia. So there's many ways that we can engage with our community on plants and agriculture and seeds and our environment. This is an incredible thing that's occurred that I would never have predicted when I first said, yes, I'll send seeds to space, that we would end up with a 15-minute choral piece performed by a choir in Berlin, inspired by what we've done. That's a really interesting podcast if you want to listen to it. It's incredible what they talk about in that. And so our results was not very successful. Some were amazing. This picture here is from One School Global. That's their space wattle tree, and they're planted in their school grounds. It's been a highly inspirational program that we've run. It's gone off into many different areas. There's a preschool that made a video on a floor book that the kids made about space, the space station, animals and insects and everything that have been to space, the solar system. Blacksland Preschool it is. It's an incredible floor book that they've done. For some reason, they get to a certain point and die. We don't know why. Others don't germinate. We want to get funding to further our study in this area because it's also bush tucker, and it's the wattle also has got the reason why it's our national flower is its resilience, the symbol for resilience. So it would be fun to be able to send some more seeds up there, and then also to get someone to analyse the data that we have got and pull together that information. I was saying before I started presenting that One Giant Leap is putting plants on the moon with ALIF, which is RMIT Linaria 1 in Queensland. So we're part of a consortium that we're putting plants on the moon at the end of this year or early next year. And we're also part of the Plants for Space Consortium. Also, we're putting Australia's rover on the moon in the next few years. So we're part of that outreach of that. There's an ALIF lunar plant workshop at RMIT. It's a free workshop. seedsinspace.com.au/WHTW is what will happen to the wattle. And then the ALIF lunar plant workshop is there. I'm sure if you just do a Google search, you'll find it. And that's a free workshop run over 2 days. It's a Saturday and Sunday, I think, and it's the same workshop each day, but it's open up for high school kids to come and do our workshop. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing that is everyone can see me. So I just want to show you what's
Cool.
really cool is I still
Wow.
have flight seeds. This is space heritage. To actually have space heritage, and they are from Victoria, and then these are the ground seeds. So we have the flight seeds and the ground seeds. And also what's fun is I also have some rocks. They sent me some rocks in the mail. So I have a Where's Wally rock. And there's they're painted little bumps in there, so it's tactile. And then I've got seeds in space with an astronaut with a whole pile of wattle around. So these are part of I will die with these things. That's just been amazing. The creativity, where people have taken the program, and it continues to this day, years later. I can't believe the impact it's had. I didn't realise how huge it was going to be, and it's global. I had someone in Japan on a tiny island somewhere, and they've gone, do you know, Jackie, one giant leap in the wattle? And the person's contacted me, I'm out in the middle of nowhere in Japan and people know who you are. So it's very funny. So yeah, I'm very proud of this program.
Wow. Well, thank you, Jackie. I think you should be proud. It's amazing. Yeah, wow. There's just a lot that went very quickly through that presentation.
Yeah.
Everyone, if you do have any questions, please pop them in the chat right now. We've got one here from David. He said, when you say the plants get to a certain point and die, are they just the ones with the space treatment or all of them? And have the conditions between the treatment in space and the control being kept the same? Are they getting fertilized, kept in pots? There's a lot of questions around it. But
yeah, they're all treated the same because they're in one little tiny greenhouse. So the temperature is the same because they're in one place. So it seems to be all of them. I don't know why it's going. It could be just the seed lot. And, we haven't got a huge success rate, but we have one or two. And I was also thinking about, because I still have some seeds, I was thinking about doing space wattle bonsai. Maybe that might work. I don't know. But like I said at the beginning, my gardening skills are not up there. And the conditions and the control have been kept the same. And that was really important, that they measure. We actually supplied a syringe so they could measure the water that they were doing. You saw a thermometer, so they were recording temperature, they were recording moisture, so all of those different things. So I think it's a whole lot of different things, like school holidays, or like I said, someone threw someone's experiment out. Do you know what I mean? So we haven't got the capability to sit down and go the analysis of all the data, but it just seems weird. I don't know what it is. Someone else with bigger brain than me in this space could probably tell me why. And they are hard to grow, right? It's not like it's just beans in a whole pile of cotton wool on a plate. I didn't kind of choose the easiest thing to grow. As another thing we did was we grew sweet basil for a Malaysian experiment that happened on the space station at the same time. So we did a ground control experiment, and basil was much easier to deal with than the space wattle. But yeah.
Yeah. And I guess with that, how much seed did you actually send up there, and how much do you have left?
I probably got about 10 grams left. I had 100 grams go up. So, I had to give a small amount to the space agency and I framed it. So it's in a frame with a certificate and the mission patches and stuff. What I found amusing was when we went to Dubai and the UAE, when they dropped the seeds in the resin, they're going, we're scared they're going to grow, because I had them in a professionally framed frame in a little container so that you could see them. And I'm going, do you know how hard these things are to grow? It's not like they're going to grow like triffids out of the picture frame. Like, you've actually got to do stuff to them to make them grow. So, but yeah, so we have some left. And I've said to all the teachers, please do not be in a hurry to plant them. get pictures of the kids holding them because they've been to space. The whole thing was the kids could hold something that had been to space and go, wow, this has been to space. And they had a picture to relate that to go, our seeds went there. And that was really important. So I said, don't be in a rush to start planting. Get as many parents, community, everyone involved to come and hold the space seeds because it's a rare thing to be able to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's amazing. 100 grams is, and at the same time is not a lot of seed. If it depends on what you're trying to do, I suppose.
Yeah, which is why we had to kind of go, well, we can't give 100 seeds to a school. We had to kind of work out a way that was fair to, a way that was fair. So we had 6 earth seeds and 6 space seeds. So we didn't want to give 12 space seeds and 12 earth seeds because we would have run out of seeds. So we tried to make it in a way that we knew that we could provide. I was terrified that if I lost those seeds in the post, I would have 300 really disappointed schools and preschools because I couldn't get more. It's not like I can go down the shop and go, hey, can you give me some space wattle seeds? I could have pretended, but that wasn't that's not in me.
No.
And yes, David, I would love you to connect me up with the, And it's funny because you say Heathcote, Victoria. I have a girlfriend who I started teaching with when I was, 20, and she lives in Heathcote. So maybe it's time I went to visit her and brought some space wattle seeds with me. But yeah. Yes, with hot water. Yeah, I did. So Sean, if you have a look at the guidebook, and we also had imagery and we ran teleconferences, so we made sure that we did all of that stuff. And I did have a guy who was helping me, and so if anyone had a really hard question, it would be they had to write Ask George in my subject heading, so I knew it would be way past my pay scale. And George, I gave him some space wattle seeds in return for him volunteering to help with some questions from the schools that was way too hard for me. Yeah.
Do you know where the seed actually did come from? Did you collect it yourself?
No, I got it from the CSIRO.
Okay.
I got it from the Australian Tree Seed Centre. I don't know if you can see that.
Just.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they have like a seed lot, so they would know. Seed lot 17072.
Okay.
Yeah. So
And
yeah.
As it came from Victoria, though, that seed.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. You're talking about this kind of happening during COVID. So how long has it been since the seeds have come back and they've now gotten out to the schools?
Nearly 5 years now.
And have any of those plants that have been successful, have any of them gone on to actually then flower themselves?
No, not that I know of. The ones that I do know, no, nothing has. Because that was the thing I was interested in, was getting the next generation to see. Yeah. So that's what I mean. I still have some flight seeds, and I would really love to be able to set up a thing where even if we had a small experiment happen, that we can get them past that point and then get them to flower and then get those seeds. I would love to set up that experiment with someone who actually knows more than me about how to do this stuff. I'm not that person. I'm the person who comes up with the harebrained ideas, and then but if there's someone who would like to work with me to maybe plant 20 seeds and see whether we can get them past dropping dead, that would be great.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that might be something between our networks, and also, we are involved with a lot of Landcare groups as well. So we're involved with a lot of really good private landholders who may be willing to take on something like that. And so if I can potentially put some feelers out, and I've got your email now, Jackie.
Yeah.
Because I think that'd be an amazing project as well. And I think people would be jumping up to be involved in it.
And the thing with me is, sure, I can hold on to these and, to the day I die, they're in a plastic bag. But you know what I mean? Wouldn't it be cool to actually try it? I would like to try it and see. I'd much prefer to try doing it than sitting here and going, oh, maybe what if, whatever, because the opportunity is here and it's now. So, yeah, I would be more than happy if someone wants to talk to me about how to make that all happen. I don't have any funding, where I'm just this person who sits in Western Sydney with crazy ideas and no funding, but I'm more than happy to I've got a team going to RMIT shortly, and I've just put in the chat the ALIF Lunar Plant Workshop link. So we'll be down there. So if someone actually wants to talk to us and help us, I really would love to see that longer term study, and knowing that the seeds are there. Now, the weird thing is, an astronaut that I know, Greg Chamitoff, he took Australian seeds to space in 2008, and I didn't know this. He took Wallamai pine, wattle seeds, and a couple of others, and he took them up to space and came back, and they planted the wattle seeds in the botanical gardens here in Sydney. So I was running around trying to find them, but where they were is a building is being put there. So they ploughed them down, which was like so depressing. I couldn't believe it, because, here is like the patron of my company who took wattle seeds to space in 2008, and I've gone, yes. And I honestly, in the car driving, trying to find them, and then we find out that no, we ploughed those down to make way for a building. It was like, no. So, I would love to do that kind of longer term thing with these to see actually whether anything did happen to them or not.
Yeah, fantastic.
I don't know, Debbie, whether they the seed batch prior to giving it to me, I just know that it arrived. So I don't know if they did, and maybe that's a point, because we do get to a certain point, and I don't know about the viability, but maybe we can ask them. See, I don't know to ask these questions, Jackson, so maybe,
Yeah, I don't know. Well, it's just doing some germination testing. It's also storage as well. But if it came from CSIRO, I assume that was stored and germination tested. But you really don't know a lot of the time.
I know. I just know it's been fun.
Well, as long as you've had fun.
Yeah.
So you said previously you were a school teacher, and I hate to take it away from the project a little bit, but
yeah.
How did you make the move from school teaching into this one giant leap, I suppose?
Yeah, well, it's a bit like that. So I was a primary school teacher, and giving away my age a bit, I had a computer at home, so I instantly became the computer coordinator at my primary school, which had 900 kids, 140 PCs and 140 bubble jet printers. And the school, there was a lot of upstairs, downstairs, whatever, but in the early days, they used to lock up the ink in the school safe because it was precious commodity, right? So I would walk into the school, and I was an assistant principal, so I had 2 hours a week off for doing my executive duties and running my classroom. Plus, then I had on top of that a computer coordinator's role that didn't really have a job description. So it got to a point where I'd walk into school and people wouldn't even say to me, "Hi, how was your weekend?" They go, "My printer's run out of ink." And I go, "Okay, I'll go and do we know what colour?" "No, I don't know. It's not my job." "Okay, fine." And so then, I'd go down, I'd get the key to the safe, I'd go and I'd get all the different colours, and I'd go and I'd walk forever up to the person's classroom, and I go, "Do you want me to show you how to do this?" "No, it's not my job." "Okay, fine." So burnout's real. And in 2006, someone created a computer coordinators listserv. This is well before anyone could kind of get on Messenger and whatever. And someone said Honeywell are giving away scholarships for teachers to go to space camp in the USA. And I didn't even know what space camp was. All I know that if the moon's in the sky, we're good. It's going well. I don't know how far away the moon is, but I thought, I didn't do a gap year. I don't even have a passport. How cool. So I applied to go to space camp in 2006 as an educator and got rejected. So then it was like, yep, typical, I'm just such a loser, right? So then the following year, I get an email saying applications are open again. And at that time, I was helping someone with a wayward 16-year-old, and I can't even remember what I wrote, and I applied, and I forgot I applied. Then the following March, I got an email saying, congratulations, you've been accepted into space camp. And I was one of 268 teachers from around the world selected. I was the only Australian. And I thought this program had been going for a long time, but only been going for 4 years. So then the next thing, after writing all the school reports, everything, jump on the flight, off we go. I'm into space camp, and that changed my life. I went in there being an Australian public school primary school teacher. So I took Vegemite, Tim Tams, clip-on koalas. I didn't have enough money to make my business card, so I made my own on my laminating machine after hours at work. And I became known as the koala woman because I was handing out clip-on koalas. I had hundreds of them in my bag because I thought, I'm an ambassador for public education in our country, and I'm an Australian, so I wanted everyone to know that Australia is a cool place. So anyway, got known as the koala woman. And at graduation, they said, there's this award called the Right Stuff Award. It's the leader of leaders. It's the person that everyone has voted to be the leader. And there's 600 people in this auditorium. There's people from NASA, everyone, and they called my name. And I was shocked because I'd gone in there not thinking of myself like that, and everyone's gone, the koala woman. So I ended up with an award that gave me a scholarship for a kid from my school to go to space camp in America. And I was in Sydney and in a primary school. So on the way home, I'm thinking, what a waste giving me this award. No one's going to put their kid on 6 plane flights, like 3 there and 3 back, to go to space camp. So I came up with a crazy idea. I told you I'm the ideas person. So I didn't even have a day off for jet lag. I had to go into school. So I went into school with my flight suit, with my rockets and Mars rovers and everything under my arm, and my medallion for winning the Right Stuff Award. And I went into the principal's office and I said, I've won this award. It's got me a scholarship worth $9,000. I've already asked Honeywell. I can use it for basis for fundraising. I want to do a school excursion to Alabama next year in my primary school. And he said yes, thinking it wasn't going to happen. So I did this magical thing called PowerPoint, and I presented to the school assembly. And I said, Year 6, this isn't for you, I'm sorry, but you're not going to be here. But Year 4 and 5, who wants to come with me? If you do, this is what I did. If you want to come with me, put your name down on the sheets at the back of the hall. 92 kids put their names down. And the following year, we fundraised $60,000. Bunnings barbecues, selling chocolates, you name it, we did it all. And I took 43 Year 5 and 6 kids, 12 parents and 7 teachers on the first ever trip out of Australia, out of a primary school to space camp. So I did that in 2008, did it again in 2010, 2012, 2014. I actually took 10 girls to Space Camp Turkey via Gallipoli, and they found their identity on the beach at Anzac Cove. And then I got frustrated because they wouldn't let me take kids from other schools. So I quit and I started One Giant Leap. So this October, November, we're taking 32 kids, most of which I've managed to help get $5,000 grants or scholarships. And we've got 32 kids going to space camp this year. But, the trip is on and it's going to be a lot of fun. So we do 1 trip a year traditionally, but COVID got in the way. So we're getting back to doing that. So, so that's how I started One Giant Leap.
Wow. That is an amazing story. It's almost as amazing as the story of getting the seeds into space.
That was crazy, honestly. It was just that no one could say no because there was no one there to say no. And the funny thing is I just do stuff, I just think, the whole, and Japan and JAXA, that whole relationship, we've been involved with JAXA for 5 years now. We run the Kibo Robot Programming Challenge and it's free programs where kids can program robots in real time on board the space station. And then we they go through a simulator and a process, and then the top teams of 11 countries battle it out in a 5-hour link up to the space station. So the astronauts talk to the kids and that kind of thing. And then we're running a thing called the Asia Tri-Zero-G, which is experiments on board the space station. And we've been successful 2 years in a row to have Australian kids experiments being selected to be done. And this year we've got 2 14-year-old girls, their experiments being selected. And we're now trying to get the funding to take them to Japan so they can be in mission control when their experiments being done on board the space station. So these 2 14-year-old girls, we put them together. They're in 2 separate parts of Sydney. And so those girls are working together because we put them together, and they're looking at water and slinkies on board the space station and what happens if you put water in a slinky and let it go and stuff. And no, the Bacchus crash was a company of a lady that I know who her company's gone into liquidation now. She was a lady in Victoria who ran a company to take kids to space camp, and it was really sad. And then it's sad that she's gone into liquidation. She tried everything to hold her company together. And the kids did get to go, yep. They did get to go, I think, the following year. And I do know her really well, and I'm sad that she's in the situation she's in. And I talked to her after that bus accident. She was just shattered. You know, I take small groups. I take like 32 kids or whatever. Last year we took 16 kids. It's a very tight-knit group and community. And then when these things happen, it affects everyone. There was also a company that I think there were 700 or 900 families. Their money was taken by a company, and all the kids didn't get to go to space camp, but their money got stolen by a company. So we try to help as best we can, trying to get those kids to come on a trip and getting industry to help us pay so that they actually can have what they were promised. Because I have a whole thing about we always under-promise and over-deliver at One Giant Leap, but I never ever promise something that I can't deliver to kids. I think it's terrible. And so, you know, we're trying to undo a bit of that mess that's not our mess, but it is in the reality of things that we need to help each other in Australia.
Well said.
Yeah.
Sounds like you've got a lot going on. And I did notice throughout your presentation as well, you kind of had a lot of different displays of how people use creativity involved in this. I guess this is my last question that I had written down as you were talking, is that how important do you think mixing science and creativity is in terms of communicating and engaging people?
Look, we got funded to run 11 4-day, 3-night camps across New South Wales over 2 years. At the same time, we got funding to run 36 workshops in 12 different locations through the school holidays. So we've been out in regional and remote areas, Lightning Ridge, Canamble, Moree, Scone, places where the kids feel like there's no opportunity for them and they're pretty much lost hope, or they think that they're really weird. There's no one like them anywhere. And what we've done is we've shown them that they are. There are plenty of people who think like them. There are plenty of people in the community who feel the same as they do. And then we just put them all in one place. And then suddenly they've got a network. And to me, it takes everyone to build this ecosystem. And it's really like there was a saying when we put man on the moon, on your shoulders we stand, which is the astronauts speaking when Apollo 13 and the disaster with that. It took 400,000 people to do that job. And it takes everyone, the cleaner, the accounts person, making sure the nuts and bolts are correct. Like, it's a dangerous task, but everyone with pride does their pride properly. So on our shoulders, our youth stand. And we need the Beethovens, we need the artists, we need the people who are into growing plants. We need the people who look after the environment. We need all of that. So everyone misconstrues what happens in space. It's like we're trying to run away from the planet. But if you understand the space station, their slogan is off Earth for Earth. So the stuff we're learning, there's 300 experiments a day being done on board the space station. And a lot of it is for us down here to make our lives better. So the creativity is really important. We have to be creative. We have to encourage innovation. We have to get kids to try stuff. And it's not a failure. In my classroom, I had a sign, valuable negative information. If a kid would say to me, I've made a mistake, I go, hang on a minute. You've just got some valuable negative information. You won't put the fork in the light socket again, right? So to me, we have to turn that around and value our creativity in our kids, because that's what's going to solve the problems that are erupting now, that are also in the past, but also in the future, the problems that we don't even know we need to solve yet. So without that, we're done for. Also, I just want to say we have the Connecting Minds project happening. We've connected 20 schools in Australia with 20 schools in Japan. And the teams are going to look at problems that they want to solve, like space problems they want to solve. And they're connecting globally. So we've got all these small groups connected up. And what we're doing is those groups, their projects will have a solution, a combined solution. All the projects are different. They're not the same. The kids have been encouraged to choose what they want to study. And then what we're doing is we're showcasing those projects out of the Australian Pavilion at the Osaka Expo. So we're taking a group of kids over to the Osaka Expo. So can you imagine every piece of tech, the best every country has to offer, and these kids are going to walk around the Osaka Expo and see all of this. And then that also will inspire their creativity, but also inspire them for the future, because we're giving them a global voice for their project solutions. So the Connecting Minds project, it just so happens it's Osaka. It's not because we're working with the Japanese Space Agency. And we started that in Dubai. We did that at the Dubai Expo. And then we'll also probably, hopefully, if I'm still around, do it at the Saudi Expo in Riyadh. So we can connect our kids globally to try and solve these problems that they see that there are, so that they feel like that they're contributing to the positivity, because often we say to them there's a problem and there's no solution. They just give up hope. And our youth suicide rate is increasing. We have to give the kids a voice and listen, so that then we can go, yeah, that's a good idea, but how about we massage it a bit more, or whatever, or identify them and nurture them and give them a network that can help them, because there's plenty of kids out there and they don't know what they need to do.
Yeah, that sounds like a great project. And that can be found on your website as well.
Oh yeah, yep, everything is there. Have a listen to our podcast, One Giant Leap Radio. We interviewed Eric Phillips before he went up on the polar orbit. He's the guy from Tasmania who flew the other day on the Dragon capsule. Next week we're interviewing him again, because he grew mushrooms while they were floating around. So we're going to be interviewing him again and putting that podcast up next week. Yeah.
Great. I'll keep an eye out for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
well,
thank you for the opportunity for me to rave on about my favourite subject.
No, well, it's a very well rehearsed rave. I will give you that much. It was very, very enjoyable to listen to.
Thank you.
And look, I might be in touch semi-soon regarding some wattle seed.
Yep.
And I guess if the opportunity does arrive, I hope you think of Seed in Victoria when you think, where can we get this seed from as well? Because we've got plenty that we can offer.
And there's plenty that we can do together. And what we try and do is really minimal cost, but maximum impact and high quality stuff to our kids, so that their time is valued, that we don't waste their time, but also everyone's got resourcing issues like finances and stuff. but to work together and collaborate is what we want to do. Yeah.
Oh, I agree entirely. That'd be fantastic. Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight, Jackie. I think everyone enjoyed it. I certainly did. And thank you to everyone that has joined us here online.